and I hear it so many times. Oh, health and safety. Oh, that's all down to the builder, isn't it? Not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
And you could lose everything, you know. When I say unlimited fines, it's a they close you down.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Next Level Finance podcast, series 2, episode, I'll get my maths right, episode 8. I know Dave will be having me up for being an accountant and trying to get the numbers right. We've got the legendary Dave Forde. I'm going to love this. If you want real talk, straight talk, this is the podcast. So we're going to introduce Dave Forde. If you don't know Dave, I'm sure you know if you follow on the socials, he's got social media. He's got over 4 decades of experience as a chartered construction manager, and he helps property developers with all types of projects. His key focus, and we're going to try to cover that, is design phase review, de-risking the project, and helping top those desired outcomes. Dave, I'll shake your hand again because you're going to give huge value. Thank you for making it up here.
No, it's a pleasure, Zee, and you know, I'm the same as you, it's all about adding value.
And we're going to get a lot of value today. Well, normal stuff we always start is, Dave's obviously an entrepreneur and he's been helping, as we said, property developers for ages. You know, I love talking about the person first and trying to understand a bit of their personal challenges, because it inspires our audience across all the socials about what can be achieved with the right mindset and how the person is. Their experience can be used to leverage better results, and there's never a bad experience that can never be turned into a good experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So starting with yourself, we were talking before, and obviously everyone knows about the hospitality when you come to a gold house, especially on the Next Level Finance podcast. We're having some food and we're talking, and you were talking about something really that I hate it is you've had you know, that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
You were saying it was about 9 years ago?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that and the audience. What happened?
All right, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So, introduce myself, I'm Dave Forde, I'm a chartered construction manager. I've been doing this now, I don't know, 42, 43 years. But I just started off as a spark. I was a humble spark. My dad was a builder, you know, done my training, become a spark, went to work. This is in the...
For the people who don't know a spark, electrician,
Sorry, electrician.
Yeah, technical. You know, some people were like, what's a spark? Yeah. But anyway, Karen.
This is in the sort of mid to late 80s. And
wow.
I was just, you know, went to school, went to a comprehensive school, wasn't really pushed to achieve much by the teachers. No one was, you know. If you were clever at school, you were told, oh, maybe you'll get a job in a bank. But when I say bank, they mean at the lowest level, you know, working wage slave, you know. So anyway, I started working with my dad, and I just thought this was it. This was the way. You go to work, you trade time for money, you get money, you pay tax. Back in them days, that was optional, but we won't go down that road.
Don't get me in trouble.
We won't go down that road, you know. The past is another world. They do things differently.
This is more than 20 years ago, HMRC.
Yeah. So I just thought that was it, and I worked my way through the various levels of being a spark, a tester, a site supervisor, a foreman, a site manager, and I just thought that's what it was. And the harder I worked, the better I would do. And I worked 7 days a week, and I worked long hours and all that. But then,
just to recap for the people, so you've started construction because your dad was in there, and you just worked your way up, thinking that's the key thing. You went to school and you said, well, I'm going to be working on the site. I'm going to work out, learn all the different aspects.
Yeah.
Right? And then you sort of thought, right, I think there may be something different.
Well, everyone I mixed with, my peer group, if you like, that's how we all saw it, you know. Success, wealth, money equated to minutes, hours, days and weeks spent working for someone else. We never had any financial education. We were never, ever had conversations about tax efficiency or investments. I mean, you know, I come from the era...
Let me just jump in there. Sorry, I know you got a thing on it about, is that you mentioned something earlier to me, and it really stuck to my mind when we were having a chat, is you believe the education system, that's what you're talking about, is sort of grooming you by class. Is that fair to say? It's doing that, it's shaping that you're going to be here, you're going to be here.
Yeah, well, we'll explain this exactly what I mean. Like, you know, you sort of get the impression, listen, you're working class, right? That's the hand of cards you've been dealt in life. That's your lot. Don't see all that up there, see all these nice things, all this wealth and freedom and security and money and riches. That ain't for you. So don't get ideas above your station, right? You just go to work and keep working, and maybe, hopefully, luckily, you'll end up with something at the end of it, you know. And so but then I met my girlfriend, and things completely changed. Now,
this is about this particular person that you met, which your partner's right now, was about 9 years ago. So you went from that mindset for most of your life, and then you were like, and then you met someone, who's made you think differently, right?
Yeah.
So
now,
give the insight.
What it was with her, her dad. Now he was just a spark, but he worked in Saudi Arabia for 30 years, made fantastic money.
Wow.
And he was able to send his 2 sons to Eton and his 2 daughters to Rodine. And for those who don't know Rodine, I don't know whether it still is, at the time was the most expensive private girls' school in the country.
Wow.
So she had a completely... And he was...
Were they boarding schools, or could you come home? Were they?
I can't remember. I think Eton's boarding school. I can't remember what the girls' ones are. But so her dad, he was as working class as I was, but he'd done something about it. So he went to Saudi, and he realised there was a lot of money to be made there. But then he realised there was more money to be made if you could get into the managerial area. But he was held back by his accent. He had a really strong northern accent. So he paid to go to elocution classes and lose that accent. At the same time, he studied for further qualifications.
Wow.
And he got himself managerial roles in Saudi at the time of the oil boom, all tax-free money, you know. So he really changed things. So when I met my girlfriend, she hadn't had this education that I'd had. She'd had private education where it was drilled into her from day one that whatever you want, you can achieve.
Let me so you've put huge value there, Dave. It's huge. So your partner's father, he felt from the accent it was stopping him because he had a northern accent. So he had to retrain his voice basically to speak differently to open opportunities. Wow.
Yeah. Well, now look, you know, everyone in this country bangs on about racism, right? But let me tell you, so I come from North London, Islington. I'm 57. You look back at my school photos from when I was 6 or 7. I'm in a minority as a white person in London in that class. So I've grown up all my life surrounded by people of all different races, colours and everything from all around the world. So it just means nothing to me where someone comes from, how they speak, their accent, their colour, their religion, etc. The biggest form of discrimination in this country is the class system between the rich and the poor. And I think a lot of that goes back to the British Empire, right? And don't forget, so, you know, Britain, they robbed, plundered and killed their way around the world to have the biggest, richest, most powerful empire in the world. 200 years later, after the Second World War, that all fell apart. All these countries they were exploiting said, enough of you, we want our country back. Now you've got this rich predator class who still want to enjoy the trappings of luxury and wealth and power and control. But they can't do it overseas, right? So now they're back in England. So who do they do it to? They do it to the poor. Are you with me, right? So he broke through that.
Wow.
He broke through that barrier. Like, he was able to masquerade as one of them. But we're digressing, right?
No, I think you've raised, this is the next level finance podcast for a reason. This is real stuff. What you said is actually an eye-opening moment for many, because a lot of people don't realise that there's a lot of different ways how we are split up without knowing. And in order to really break through, the people that tend to do it are the people that understand what different levels, how they're operating and understanding the system. And you've just given it a nutshell how someone did it and successfully, right?
Yeah.
And that's now been explained to you by your partner.
Yeah.
And now you're like, right, I've been thinking about it in a not the right way, right?
Exactly. So when I met her, and we'd been together a couple of months, we were out having dinner. And at the time I was working on, where's I work, in Crossrail.
What does she do, if you don't mind me asking?
She's an entrepreneur and a property developer. And
she needs to come and see us, my friend.
So I was working on Crossrail. Now, at the time, I was taking home £3,300 a week. Now, that ain't bad.
That's pretty good.
In
right?
2019, that weren't bad.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm telling her about it, and I'm expecting her to be all impressed and all that, and she just said, why'd you waste your time? And I was really taken aback. I thought, what do you mean waste my time? She said, if they can afford to pay you that, how much are they making?
Wow.
And that just spun my head. I thought, I have never thought of that, never, and I was, that is 9 years ago, so I was 48 or whatever. So 48 years off, I'd never thought of that, you know, because I still had that mindset, even though by that time I was a manager, I was in the senior manager role on the #1 prestige infrastructure projects in the country. I was still in that mindset that I will take what they give me. And if I want more, I'll work more. I'll work Saturdays. I work Sundays.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And I thought, wow, she's so right. But then I didn't know what to do about it. And she said, you know, and she was in the property developing industry.
Let me break that down for the audience, because I think you've got huge value. Dave's firing it off right now, trust me. You've just explained where people are exchanging time for money.
Yeah.
Right? So they're working in a job and they're getting paid a fixed amount of money for their time, irrespective of how much value they are creating. And she's just explained to you that concept, which you've been following pretty much most of your life and thinking that's the only model.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, what did she say?
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
Yeah.
Try, please.
Yeah, so she said to me, you are wasting your time with all your skills. But all right, you're taking home £3,300, but look what you're doing for it. You're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Yeah. You're not getting home till 7 at night. That's 7 days a week, and you've got massive amounts of pressure on you, you know. And it's a real cutthroat, competitive environment as well. So you got all that. You got people trying to stab you in the back, throw you under the bus. There's no security there. You know.
At this time, you're working as a limited company owner.
I was working for a limited company. I said to her, well, what should I do about it? You know, she said, well, you should go to these property networking meetings. You'll definitely meet people there who will value your skills, who will need your skills. Now, this was 9 years ago. I'd never been to a property networking.
So we're thinking about 2016 or...
This was 2016. Something like that, yeah. I didn't have a Facebook account. I didn't have nothing, you know. Social media, I wasn't into it. So that's what I did, you know. I just opened the Facebook account, started looking on the internet, started going to these property networking meetings. And that's really where it sort of began for me, began to change, you know, because then you get exposed to different things. Now you're aware that there is finance available. Because you've got to think, up till that point, I'd still been doing property projects all my life because my dad done them. So me and a few friends, we'd chip in. And we didn't know what we were doing. We were getting residential mortgages, buying houses, flipping them and selling them, so getting hammered in tax, like paying these stupid rates, and it was probably illegal what we were doing as well.
This was quite a few years. Whether it was illegal, you didn't understand the rules, right?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
all right, cool.
You know,
this is Decades ago.
And I didn't really see that as running a business or being an entrepreneur. It was just, it was a way to make money. It involved construction work, right? I'd work for this company 7:30 till 5 on a Monday, then I'd go and do this. But I had no concept of the idea of, let's do it as a business, let's look at tax efficiency, let's look at the best way we can get the finance from it, let's retain the most profit, let's scale, let's reinvest. There was none of that, you know what I mean?
You didn't really, you were just more about, I've got to get some income to enjoy my life. You weren't thinking about building wealth, getting return on value, return on investment assets. None of that.
Not at all.
Wow.
No. I had no one at all in my circle who was doing it. I mean, I remember when the first buy-to-let mortgages come out, and everyone was getting them, and that was a sort of thing for the working class. Listen, right, get yourself a couple of buy-to-lets. By the time you retire, all them mortgages will be paid off. Let's say you got 4 two-bedroom flats, sell one, have a nice chunk of money that you can stash away and have holidays with, and the other 3 provide you with recurring income as your pension.
Let me break that down. Dave's given you a great insight of what he thought wealth was and what meant achievement. And at that time, that was probably a good strategy. But time has now evolved a lot, hasn't it? You can't just buy-to-lets because they're so expensive. The rent doesn't even cover the interest of the mortgage anymore.
Well, I think the government has made it clear that anyone, regardless of who you are, we don't care what your plans were, how much hard work you've put into it, how much of your own money you've invested into it, how much risk you've taken, we're having at least half of it. You know, they've made that abundantly clear. I mean, you look at the Tories, right? They were always the party of the entrepreneur and the small businessman and the buy-to-let landlord. Always. And I mean, in their last, what were they in? Were they in 18 years or 12 years? I mean, how many bits?
Yeah, they started in 10. And then obviously they were here to last year, weren't they?
Yeah, 14 years. So how many bits of legislation did they bring in? 25 or something, anti-landlord. I mean, they destroyed it, you know. So that strategy now is gone.
So one of the things Dave's talking about is trying to, obviously, the rights of renters. They started that process. The tax on interest, section 24, massive, which affected so many people. And also the value of property and stamp duty rapidly. They put it all up, didn't they? People don't realise this. Wow. There's a lot, isn't there?
Yeah. So, you know, so that's where I was. So I started going to these property networking meetings. But what I found, there's a couple of things I found. I was going to property meetings and I was shocked at the amount of bad advice that was going around.
So one of the insights that you got when you went originally to property meetings to think, wow, I've got this different way of thinking. Who do I need in my network? I'm going to get all these get educated on all these different. First thing you learn, there's a lot of shocking advice.
Yes.
Tell us some examples of the shocking advice that you were getting.
A lot of it revolved around the construction aspect of doing new builds, HMO conversions, commercial-to-Resi, etc. Such bad advice about how to find builders, how to work with them. A complete absence of any mention of the law. Like, people got to understand when.
And this summarises from what you said before. We had a government anti. That's what I think you were talking about around the properties, even though Conservative is supposed to be. Then you're going to these education things, programs, and they're also not really mirroring up what's happening in the real world, basically.
What people got to understand when you do a property project, people always say, so what do you do? Oh, I'm in property, right? Now look, if you're buying blocks of flats and you're just splitting the titles and selling them on, you're in property. If you're buying land, you're getting planning uplift, you're in property. The minute you start doing any sort of work to it to increase its value, you're in construction, right? You're not in property with a little bit of construction. You're as much in construction as I'm in it. The law does not discriminate on size or value, and it's one of the most highest regulated industries in the country because of the nature of the danger of it, right? So I'm going to these meetings, and it seemed to me everything was just an upsell and it's so easy, and I'm thinking, no, you're leading them down the garden path here. This is really bad advice. And so I went for a few months and said to my girlfriend, listen, this ain't for me. And the sort of people I'm meeting, you know, they're not the people who I can market my skills to. She said, you're going to the wrong meetings. She said, you need to be around high net worth individuals, you know, so you need to change your strategy. You need to find out where high net worth people connect, right? Then you need to learn how to actually speak to them, and then you need to go and mix with them.
So now you had these personal challenges, the development, then you were like, I want to do this as a business.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I sort of know what I want to get to. I need to probably increase my knowledge, but I need to also meet the right people.
Yeah.
Now it's a business. You're actually now starting to think as an entrepreneur rather than...
Because originally,
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was go to these meetings, meet another client like you, and maybe you'd have, I don't know, 500 quid's worth of work for me. That's handy. I can still work 7 days a week on Crossrail and get 500 quid. You know, now it was, no, I don't want to be giving little bits and pieces of advice. I want to be taking big projects of people who haven't got the time or the skill or the knowledge to do it, but they've got the money to pay someone. That I could see that was the way forward.
Got it.
But then I had to find out, who are these people, where do I go? And also, when you're dealing with the high net worth, there's a way to approach them, and there's a way to speak to them, there's a way not to speak to them, you know. So I joined a mastermind that was specifically designed of how to connect with high net worth people, where they go, how to approach them, and what they're interested in and whatnot. It cost me a couple of grand, worth every penny.
Yeah.
You know, alongside that, I thought, well, now if I want to move away from the world of wages, right, changing, trading time for money, I need to understand finance. So I paid thousands on financial education from various places. Then, you know, I need to understand tax as well. Tax is a massive part.
Oh, it's huge.
What would you rather have? Do a project and after tax make 100 grand profit, or after tax, you know, from a tax efficient manner, have 150 grand? Well, of course you'd want the tax efficient option. It's a no-brainer.
On that point, Dave, I have these conversations with people a lot, and they don't understand. And I think I was on a certain podcast recently, and I said to people, you're paying 70 to 90%. That's all, and people are like, really? But they don't think about all the taxes that are getting hammered. So delayed consumption and planning and understanding where you're trying to get to, huge. Because I always ask people, is the money better in your pocket or in someone else's pocket who are allegedly trying to help society as a whole? And that's the shift, isn't it?
It is the shift. And when I started mixing with high net worth people, I saw that they saw life differently to the way I'd always seen it, you know. And I thought, yeah, I want a bit of that, you know what I mean? This is a bit of me. When I started going to the social places they went, I thought, oh, I could do this or do that. You know what I mean? I thought, yeah, this is a bit of me. But to them, it's nothing because they do it all the time. And I thought, no, this is what I want, you know. So I need to change my mindset. I'm not saying unlearn all the stuff I'd already learned. I needed to learn new stuff and better stuff. I needed to be credible with these people. I needed to understand their problems and how they wanted to be dealt with. You know what I mean? Because really, someone, I forget who it was, said to me, probably the most important thing anyone's ever said. People will always trade what they've got most of for what they've got less of. So when I was working on the tools, the most I had was time. The less I had was money. So I was willing to trade as much as my time as possible for money. Rich people, high net worth and ultra high net worth people have got loads of money. What they haven't got is time. Right? So they're willing to trade their money if you can give them back some of their time. But what they don't want is someone who's going to bring them a load of problems. You know what I mean?
They want solutions.
They just want solutions, and we'll come on to this a bit when we talk about the sort of a successful project I've done recently, and I'll tell you what I said to this bloke and his reply, and it will all become clear.
Yeah. Yeah, so what you've realised is what pains high net worths have, how you are the remedy. First you have to let them know the pain, because if they don't feel there is a pain, sometimes lack of education, they're not experts like you are on construction, so they got to be educated. This is the problems you got and these are the impacts. I can resolve these because I've done them so many times. And what I've noticed is so many business models are really that, especially when you're providing a service.
Right.
Is how do you communicate that? How does the other person understand it? Have you done it in the right way, the right approach? And then can you monetize it to make money, in the sense, does your skill and your leverage in your mind help solve that in a financially beneficial way? Then tax is one of your outputs. It's mind-blowing. Dave's just given huge insight. I think the other bit, I think one of the things you also help a lot of people, high net worth, is the legal issues. Can you just give a bit of insight to a property developer, right, who's doing a project and they've got to get someone to help with the construction and so on? What are the implications legally? What's the big one that always sticks out, and what is the implication if you get it wrong?
All right, just without baffling everyone with legislation and dates and clauses and all that, anyone who's doing any project now, it's what you've got to consider. CDM regulations 2015. CDM.
Yeah.
And
tell everyone what CDM means.
Construction Design and Management Regulations 2015, and the Building Safety Act 2022.
And this applies to anyone who's doing a building piece of work?
Any project at all.
Wow.
Yeah, doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter, it could be one person there working for one day, could be 1,000 people working on a project for 10 years.
Wow.
It applies equally. If you fail to comply with it, it can be punishable by up to 2 years in prison or unlimited fines. And when I say unlimited, I mean unlimited. They'll close it down. You know, and
huge.
Yeah, it is, and ultimately, and the law is very good the way it's written. Ultimately, it will all come back to the client, right? So you could employ me to be your project manager on this project. We'll employ a builder who will employ subcontractors, right? Everyone's got legal responsibilities. The higher up chain you are, the more you've got. If a subcontractor doesn't comply with their duties and there's an accident, this is how health and safety will look at it, or the police, depending on the severity of the incident or accident. So the subcontractor didn't comply with his obligations. Who employed him? The principal contractor. Okay, so the principal contractor's obligations were to make sure the subcontractor complied with it. He didn't do that. Right? Okay. Who employed the principal contractor?
Wow.
The client. Right, what are the client's legal duties? The client's legal duties are to ensure that the principal contractor complies with his duties. So don't think, and I hear it so many times, health and safety, that's all down to the builder, isn't it? Not at all. Not at all. And you could lose everything, you know. When I say unlimited fines, it's they close you down.
So how because that is a huge one.
So, but this, what I really want to say to people, because I know a lot of people invest in other people's projects. They're sitting on 50, 100 grand. They might have a corporate job. They'll think, well, I don't know anything about construction or property. I don't want to risk it. I haven't got time anyway myself. I see this bloke on social media. He looks pretty credible. He's doing 20, 30 projects. I'll invest 100 grand in his project. Right? Let's say and this is only for the podcast. Zee, I invest in Zee's projects, right? It all goes wrong. Someone falls off the scaffold, breaks their neck, going to be paralysed for life. Zee is investigated by the health and safety executive. He's found to be negligent. The police will then get involved. You know, it's an industrial accident. You'll go to the magistrate's court. You'll be found guilty. They're only powers are only to sentence up to 6 months in prison. They'll say that we feel this deserves more. They will then send you to the Crown Court for sentencing. Crown Court, serious stuff, serious stuff. This is where they dish out big loads of bird, you know what I mean? And you're standing there and they will say, we believe that your actions and the way you conducted yourself were so unfit as a property developer and the person involved in the highly regulated area of construction, that for the benefit of society and as punishment of what you did and what you didn't do, you must go to prison for 2 years, right?
Wow.
And you're taken down in handcuffs and you're put in that sweatbox and you don't know where you're going. You might be going Strangeways in Manchester. You might be going Wormwood Scrubs.
Now you're scaring people,
right?
But it's true.
But
what's
hold
the
on,
solution?
I'm the investor. I couldn't care less, right?
Yeah.
Where's my 100 grand that I put into this project? How am I getting that back? Well, I ain't, because when Health and Safety closed that site down, the development funder said to you, Zee, we couldn't care less that you're going to court. We want our money. You can't pay? Stepping rights. We're taking it back. We're selling it in a fire sale, right? So all the investors have lost their money.
Wow.
Yeah. So this health and safety thing, this compliance, this Building Safety Act's requirement to demonstrate competence, it's not an optional extra. It's not nice to have.
A lot of people don't understand what you've just said.
Most people don't understand
because they don't realise the implication to the investor and the person who's the property developer in this case. How do you mitigate it? Is that by getting a CDM, making sure they are regulated, obviously, and then they take that pain off you, but that's who you have to pay.
This is how I would do it. If you engaged me to be the consultant in your project, I say, Zee, what you have to do by law, you have to appoint someone in writing who's going to be the principal designer, right? That could be the architect, can be the builder if they're willing to take that responsibility and capable of it. Perhaps I'll take it off you. I mean, I do work as a principal designer, right? That's one thing you do. That's a legal requirement. Then you're going to take on a health and safety advisor, and then you're going to say, I'm writing the contract with the builder, right? Tell me what I need to put in it regarding health and safety. These are deliverables, right? That every week let's just say, for example, he's going to show me copies of all the site inductions, who started work for the first time this week, right? 10 people. What's their names? What's their qualifications? Where's the colour copies of all their skill cards and their... Oh no, colour copies. This man's not working on site. Before anyone starts, subcontractor, I want a competency matrix, training matrix. This means I want to know every single man, and I say men because there are hardly any women, right? Every single person who's coming to work on this job needs to tell me what their role is. Are they an electrician? Are they an apprentice electrician, right? Are they a carpenter? Right? Are they a first year apprentice carpenter? I want to see all the different cards. I want to see when they expire, have they got asbestos awareness training, if they're using, are they building temporary scaffolds, then they need to have the PASMA training card. I want all these things. And this is a deliverable from the builder. This is a contractual deliverable, right?
So these are the things that you get the right people to take ownership, and this is where you help a lot of entrepreneurs.
So then let's say an accident does end up happening down the line. You get pulled up into court and they'll say, tell us as the client what steps you took to comply with your legal obligations. You'll say, all right, well, I'm not a construction professional, right? So what did I engage this bloke called Dave Forde? Here's the contracts I signed with him. That's his website. You can see he's chartered, I'll bring him here as a witness if you want with all his qualifications. Then here's my engagement letter with a health and safety consultant who said, Zee, on this project, what you need to do is this and this, right? And you need to put this in the contract, and I'll come down once a month and I'll do a site inspection and I'll send you a report with pictures and you're going to produce all them. What you need to have is a documentary trail of evidence that you have, to the best of your abilities, right, complied with your legal obligations.
Wow, there's so much, isn't there?
Mm.
There's so
Oh
much.
yeah, there's so much that goes into this.
I want to touch on something else as well, because that is so valuable. I hope the audience are enjoying that, because that's what development's required. Before I get on there, there's a big thing that happened while you were obviously consulting contracting, something called IR35. We need to have a chat about this, right? How did you find IR35, without swearing, how did you find that affected you and colleagues, you know, because you were on the HS2 project as well, weren't you?
It was massive. When I was on Crossrail, they tried to bring it in, but that was the year of COVID, the first, so they postponed it, and they managed to bring it in the year after, and overnight, I don't know, about 75% of roles that I would previously have gone for just disappeared. You know, they became either PAYE or inside IR35.
Yeah.
Now then, the effects, I think we should talk about the effect this had on the UK economy, because the construction industry is a major part.
Well, we'll touch on that part,
right.
because I know we'll talk about that a bit later.
Right.
But I know where you. Yeah. I'm going to talk about specifically IR35.
Okay.
How you found. Did it actually really? Did it hurt? That's one of the reasons probably why HS2 failed, probably. Or didn't do well.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
Massive. So I went from Crossrail to HS2.
Yeah.
Right. Crossrail had the best in the world on it. I mean, it was a pleasure to work. You had such a high calibre of people, and everyone's working for a limited company. Right?
Yeah.
Then I brought in IR35. The vast majority of people who weren't from Britain left, and Dubai was booming at the time, right? A massive amount of our top professionals, project managers, architects, electrical engineers, mechanical designers, clerk of works, quantity surveyors, upped and went to Dubai. And one of the main reasons HS2 has struggled so badly is they cannot attract the skilled staff, because it's all IR35.
It's within it, so you end up getting taxed like an employee without any benefits of being an employee.
So you've got the worst parts of being an employee and the worst parts of being self-employed, without the best parts of being an employee and without the best parts of being self-employed.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I've seen that. And I think there's been people in the government raising this, but we've got the regime are not really understanding it's actually cost us money. It's not actually made any money for the country. That is the head that I just don't understand. What's zero of zero?
Zero. Yeah.
And this is what these guys just do not understand. And we just keep on having this. And I know you might have seen recently, we got about, I know we're going on to a slightly different topic, but it's related, is wealth taxes. People don't understand there's a line where you tax people too much, or you give them incentive to leave, they leave and they take everything with them.
Yeah.
And then how many people have to replace that?
Exactly.
So the hole just keeps on getting bigger. It doesn't get replaced. So what most people, why a place like Dubai have done well, and some people don't agree with this because they're very patriotic, probably blindly patriotic, is that you have to incentivize people to work.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is taking risk with a gain. No one wants to work without having to have a gain. That's just the world we live in.
Of course.
And you know all of this, they shouldn't, this, that. No, if you're taking risks, you can lose money. Do we give them a refund when they lose?
No, exactly.
I know, it would be ages. So it did affect it a lot, the IR35.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things about your approach, and a lot of entrepreneurs, if you listen to Dave, has got vast knowledge in development, construction, is there's an approach that you've obviously, over years of experience, got to a really good aspect around it. And the approach, if you can give, is, how do you build rapport with these high net worth individuals? Because you have to build rapport, right? How do you build it?
Yeah, so the very first, when I meet people for the first time, never talk about money with them, never, because a lot of them are sick of being preyed on by the non-high net worth, So just treat them as normal individuals and always discuss about what I do and how it brings value, And if we talk again second time, maybe we'll have a follow-up, maybe we'll meet at another event or something, you know, then I can touch deep into their pain points and I can explain why having me involved in your project is not an extra cost, it's an additional benefit. It's extra value.
Yeah.
This is what I bring, you know what I mean? Whatever you're paying at the moment, for whatever outcome you're expecting, with the value I bring, you're probably not going to pay any more because of what I'm going to save you, but you're going to have a much less stressful time, and you'll probably have a better outcome as well. And that's high net worth people, that's all they want. They want someone to take their problems away and to deliver. What they don't want is someone who they're going to pay and is going to bring them even more problems, because you are just gone the minute that happens.
I think you gave a good example we were talking about is, you know, you were giving an example before the fun of Ukraine. You had a Russian client about 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Tell the audience how you, because he was obviously a high net worth.
Yeah.
How did you work and build a rapport with him and get a good outcome for him?
That one come from my girlfriend. So she mixes in these high net worth circles, and she was doing a bit of work for this bloke, the interior design, and I just happened to mention that, I really like, you know, Russian oligarch, does projects in prime London locations, this is what I'd really like to meet. And she says, no, you wouldn't want to meet him. I said, why not? She said, he's horrible, he's pig ignorant. I said, well, I don't care, like, I've been around people like that.
That's what I mean by real deal.
Been around people like that all my life, just working for wages, you know. Yeah. So he had this job down in Belgravia, and it was all going wrong, and for numerous reasons, you know. And he was on about his fourth architect and about his 8th or 10th project manager. I said, like, introduced me to him. So we met, and he was pig ignorant, the geezer. But I said, you know, we got talking about the projects, and I let him rant on and moan, and I said, I can sort it out for you. He said, you know, how are you going to do that? I said, look, don't worry about it, like, I'll sort it, all right? That's it. And he just said, what do you want? And I told him how much I wanted, and he just went, all right. So anyway, it was a real pain, this project. So there's many times I thought I've taken on too much here. But I phoned him up one day, and I said, look, we've got a problem with the bathrooms, you know. Drawings don't work out, we're going to have to change it, and it's going to cost about 16 grand. And he just went, well, what are you phoning me for? Just sort it. And he put the phone down on me. And I thought, and I learnt from that, you know what I mean? In his head, he's an international businessman. That, to me, is like the dream project. Ultra, you know, luxury in Belgrade. To him, it's nothing. It's just another project amongst these vast portfolio of business dealings and property things, or money things all around the world. And I'm just another minion, right? Just taking away a tiny little bit of headache from him. But now I've become a minion who's causing him a problem, because I've taken 2 minutes of his time on the phone, and he just sorted it. And he went, what do I pay you for? Why are you phoning me up? Just pay it and put the phone down. And I thought, all right, fair enough. That's how you want it, you know. And from that day, I just, every time I saw him, even when things were going wrong, he'd go, how's it going? I go, yeah, sweet, don't worry about it, it's all good, you know. Delivered the project on time, made him a lot more than what he thought, you know. Nearly buried me with the stress and the worry, but it didn't matter. And then I sort of thought, like, this is all right, you know. This, I tell you what, this is a bit of me. Like, I know how to deal with these people. I know what they want. I know how they operate. And so, massive mindset shift.
If I can break that down, you know, summarise that. You identified what he thought was valuable. It was his time.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't care about the money, as long as you don't take the Michael.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
And do you know what? At a certain level, that's how the people are, because the trust is already there. They wouldn't put you otherwise in place. As long as they trust you, they know this guy knows or lady knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Well,
deliver.
that's what I've found with people like that. You meet them for the first time. Maybe you've seen them round about on the circuit. Maybe this is the first time you've sort of seriously spoke about a service or project that they want. If they ask you back for a second time and it goes well, and if they ask you back for a third time, you've already got that, right? They're not going to argue about your fee or your day rate or your hourly rate or your 10, 20, 50, 150 grand. They don't care. They've made a decision that you're the person who can solve that immediate problem.
It depends. I think what I always say to people is, do they value time? Because when you're dealing with high net or people who claim to be high net worth, there's two key things, right? Well, three key things, I should say. One, have they got the money?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not even worth the conversation if they haven't got number one. Number two, right? What have they got pains that you know you got a solution for? And number three, which you just hit on that, is time. If they've got loads of time, they could have the first two, they're going to try to do it themselves. And that's a recipe for disaster. If they've got no time and they have all those three, they are the ideal clients because they will value their time, they got the money and they got the pain. They will get you to do it. But a lot of people don't understand that. I've met people who got one, two of the three. You know, normally they've got money, but they've got loads of time and they get involved. And it's like, no disrespect, you're not an accountant tax advisor. You're not an entrepreneur. You're not...
Zee, mate,
you must see a lot of that as well, right?
I have that all the time. And these are my nightmare clients, right? Now, I've said to people on more than one occasion, right, that this is the person who's paying. I said, you stay out of it, right? There's only one problem here, that's you, right? Everyone else knows what they're doing. And if this was a project anywhere else in the world, do you think you'd be invited into the management team? You wouldn't, because you don't know anything. Just stay out of it.
But that's why you're paying someone.
Exactly, exactly.
Dave, you'd be shocked how many tax advisors I run around me who are just entrepreneurs who've read something on the internet
Really, yeah.
and they think, and then they're like, I'm like, look, if you think you know it all, why are you coming to speak to me?
Yeah.
What's the point of coming to speak to me and saying I need expertise, but then telling me to confirm something that you read on ChatGPT or Google? It's like, if ChatGPT and Google are going to defend you against HMRC, be my guest. It's the same with yourself, because you've highlighted that there's implications to this, right? It goes wrong, you could end up in jail. Same with your tax stuff. That's not going to save you if you say, oh, sorry, I didn't know.
No, not exactly.
And I think it's so important. I think some of the other things you were mentioning about where you're adding value, apart from the straight talking, you've got to love it, and I love it, right, is that you've had a lot of projects like not only commercial resis, which you love doing and we spoke about, is you also have helped with a lot of HMOs. You're saying it's a bit of a pain in the backside, really, but HMOs have a lot of problems.
HMOs are always problematic, and I'll tell you why. Because what I've found, and can't really generalise, just my experience, a lot of the people I've spoken to doing them, it's usually their first one,
right,
or their second one, and where they don't understand the costs. So right, what people got to understand, and this is what I always try to get the message out to people. You should be buying, you should be procuring, not on cost, but on value, right? So I find a lot of people doing HMOs that they're not experienced, right, which is a problem for a start. Then they're taking the cheapest quote, which
Can
means...
I summarise what them for the audience? He's talking about, don't look at the cost, look at the GDV, gross development value. What is it going to look like either if I sell it or if I refinance?
No. What I mean is buying on value, not cost. When I want to take on an architect or an accountant or a builder, I'm not going for the cheapest quote.
Of course.
Right? I want the value that comes with that. And then they don't look at it like that. They got Builder A here who's charging 50 grand, but he's amateur as you like. He's got no health and safety. He's a chancer. You got Builder B here who's 75 grand, but he's fully geared up. He's got a back office. He's got all his paperwork in place. He's got loads of connections and all that. But they will always go for the first option because it appears cheaper. And when you're trying to work with people like that, it's just a nightmare.
What I was getting at, exactly what you were saying, but I'm talking about that margin, right? You can only factor in budget for all these different specialists if you're making a margin at the top end. So that's where you start and say, am I going to have room to get the right people, or am I going to have to cut corners?
Exactly.
And what happens is they've not got that number right, so they feel, because on this spreadsheet I can cut corners here, and that's when they get the wrong people. Because then they can't value the output because they haven't factored at the top number.
Exactly.
The GDV is the most important number. Is that realistic, and what I get the cost for? Because I have to make sure that the uplift is worth it. And because I always say to people, look, if you don't start with 40% on GDV,
right,
because it probably is going to get down to 25%, because you've not put no margin in. If you start at 25%, so imagine it's £1 million GDV, that's the sale, gross development value of selling the output. If I don't factor in, it's actually 600 grand it's going to cost me, and I know there's going to be margin or cost may go up to 750, I'm not going to make money to be able to pull it out, because generally 70-75%, that's how you got to think. And but that's where they go wrong. When they come to you because they're like, I can't make these numbers work.
Exactly. And going on from that, what I've seen lately is people who are successful and are well known as being successful, they're taking on commercial residential projects that are like mega HMOs. And when you look at it on the face value, you think, oh, that's awkward, that's got so many challenges, it needs structural work, it needs blah, blah, this, that. But they know what they're doing. They've done the numbers correctly. The GDV is there, right? And the GDV, so the money is there to employ the people that you need. So
they get the best
it might seem on face value there's a lot more risk in that one, but in reality there's not. There's a lot more risk in the lower value one where you can't afford to bring on the right people.
And I think another thing when we were talking about, and I know time's always going against us, is one of the things that you've really done well, and if you follow Dave on the socials or tag him in on the stuff below, is collaborations. Because you help with the procurement side because you know what they need, so you know the people to help deliver that. And there's so many other things that you bring to the table, right?
Oh, look, with these escalating build costs, with all these extra taxes, with stamp duty going up, with the ecology reports you need, with the noise acoustic assessments, with the SAT calculations, with the tree surveys and everything. You need to find an angle. And what I've found over the last couple of years, for me personally, for everyone I work with or clients I advise and people who are in my peer group, is the collaborative approach. So, you know, I won't mention any names here because it's not free advertising, you know. So I work with a company who can procure everything. So you're not going to 25 different independent wholesalers. You're not, the builder's not putting his mark up on 25 different individual bits of material. I've got a utilities consultant, so he'll do all your gas, your electric, your water, your BT, and he'll do the whole lot, and he'll do it a lot cheaper than going to the individual utility companies, you know. And it's the collaborative approach. You know, I've got architects involved where we say, look, I know your rate is, I don't know, let's just say £250 an hour, right? But I'm not offering you one project, I'm offering you 10, I'm offering you my network, you know. Drop that rate down, come on, be part of this. And it's one hand shakes the other, you know what I mean?
And this is so important.
You're building such strength in depth because you're not just bringing these people, what you're bringing is their whole network. They're bringing their whole network with them. So now you've probably got 100, 150 people you can go to if you've got a problem. Whereas you're a developer on your own, you're hiring a project manager and you're getting a builder.
Yeah.
Like, and when there's a problem, if you lot can't work it out between you, what do you do?
Yeah, and time is costly as well.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to touch, because obviously times I was against, there's some successes, because this has helped you do some successes. You were saying you're doing a Commercial-to-Resi £5 million project at the moment. What value have you added to that project? That's a commercial to residential conversion.
All right, so this is a company who they're a building company. They've done mainly residential work, and they're moving into the world of development and commercial conversions. And I'm sure they won't mind me saying, it's been a steep learning curve for them, you know. So I've come in. I'm their principal designer. I spoke about being a principal designer earlier.
Yeah.
I'm their health and safety consultant. And I'm giving them mentoring on construction management, you know, how to actually deliver this in the highest professional sense. And it's really great when I go down there and I see every time I go there, I see that they've taken my advice on board and they understand that this comes at a cost, and they don't quibble with me. They never try to barter my rates down or anything. They see the value, and that's the sort of people I want to work with.
It's so important. I think the other bit that you said is one of the design reviews, you saved a few $100,000 in just by reviewing the design. So so many different value.
Exactly. So the person had bought this project, and the approved planning drawings were already with it, and there was a design with it that he would have been quite happy to go for. I said, hang on, stop, right? Right, let's do a complete document audit, a legacy document audit, right? And then we'll do a design review. And I looked through it, said, I don't think this, from a buildability point of view, I don't think this is your best option.
Yeah.
And let's look at the components. I don't think from a price point of view, they're your best option. So redesigned it, when I've got some prices, come back, I think it was 110 grand cheaper. Like, that's from paying me, like, I don't know, what, £1,000 or something, you know.
Because you're trying to add the value, because you know what they need to get to, and there's smarter ways of doing it because of your knowledge and experience.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the whole thing. On paper, this might look right, but how do we actually build it? Is this the most efficient way to build it? If we follow this methodology, what challenges are going to come in with that? What health and safety implications are there? Do we need to now get a specialist to write a risk assessment and method statement? This is all time consuming. This is all additional cost.
Yeah.
So, like I say, really what I'll do, I will take people's plans and I'll rip them to bits. I'll look for all their inconsistencies and what I don't think is the optimum choice, and then we'll rebuild it and we'll go from there.
Another bit I want to touch on is the old Brexit impacts on construction, right? I know a lot of people get so passionate about this, right? You've got your unique take on it, which, everyone has their own view. I've met before with so many views, some for it, some against it. You tell us what your view from Brexit has impact from your knowledge. What do you feel? And this will be a different take on it from Dave, which I definitely think was a very good argument.
All right,
I think.
so
please tell us.
So Brexit never happened. We voted for it, but the liberal establishment, the people in power, the people who are all getting extremely wealthy from the handouts from the EU, they put a block on it. You know, they used their muscle in Parliament to put a block on it, the financial institutions and the legal system. So we never had a Brexit, right? And now we're in this sort of limbo. For a start, we've lost Northern Ireland. We are the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, right? Northern Ireland's still in the EU. We're not. But personally, what I saw, so everyone has heard about escalating build costs and the labour shortage, right? This is spoke about all the time. And it's always said that 1 million Eastern Europeans went back home because of Brexit. Well, that's not true. So for a start, anyone who'd been here for a while, were given the option, I think about 2 years, you know, apply for a British passport,
Yeah.
apply for citizenship and residency. So those who wanted to go or hadn't been here long enough went. But the majority of them who went, and I'm talking solely about construction now,
Yeah.
is when they brought in IR35, because the vast majority of Eastern Europeans who came here were working through limited companies.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, Zee, you're an accountant, you can correct me if you're wrong. I'll just make some figures up. Don't forget, these Eastern Europeans, they work 7 days a week, and a lot of them work 2 jobs a day. You know,
They work hard.
They'd go home, they'd have a few hours sleep, and they'd go work a night job. So they were probably, you know, in London, probably about 70, 80, maybe 100 grand a year. They working 7 days a week. That's not hard if you're working 7 days a week, 2 jobs.
I think you're saying they're probably earning more, weren't
They're
they?
probably earning more, right?
More.
So let's say you're going to pay 25% tax overall for a limited company, right? More, less?
It depends on how you do it.
All right, this is
Fine.
just an example
Okay,
for
go
the
on.
viewers. Like, let's say 25%, right? All of a sudden, bang, no, you're on IR35. You're joking, aren't you? So my day job, I'm paying 50%, and going to my night job ain't even worth doing it. No thanks, I'm off. And that's why a load of them left. You know, Britain was, from the EU accession countries, you know, they were, in comparison to us, poor.
Yeah.
You know, wage rates were poor. When the chance to come to England was opened up, people come over, couldn't believe how much they're earning. Now, don't forget the cost of living here into it. But, you know, it was very attractive economically to come here. As soon as they brought that IR35 in, it wasn't that attractive because they've still got to contend with a high cost of living.
Yeah.
And that is why hundreds of thousands of them left. But this is never spoken about in the news, ever, you know.
I think there's been 2 major impacts, and whatever people say about Liz Truss, I wasn't a fan of Liz Truss, but what she was trying to achieve with the tax changes was actually correct, but she didn't plan it correctly. You can't do everything at once, and the establishment obviously didn't like that. Corporation tax went from 19, and the highest rate's actually 26.5% corporation tax. But the IR35, what people don't realise is if I put you on payroll, what happens at 100 grand gross? I haven't even received the money yet. It goes from 40% income tax, 22% NI, to 62 because I started losing my personal allowance.
Yeah.
So I'm getting, and then they, instead of it being at 150 before it goes to 47, like 45% income tax, 2% NI, they put it down to 125 odd K. Yeah. So they did all these changes, which I know everyone went on about Liz Truss and Kamikaze, but what they were actually thinking is, how do we get growth? Growth is never done through taxation. That's a lie, because the people that make money are the people that take risks.
Yeah.
You need people, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Our economy is based on small business and entrepreneurs. Yeah. That's a fact.
Well,
because large corporates don't pay tax that much. People don't realise they move to different jurisdictions.
Yeah. Well, how it affects the UK and the economy, you look at these big infrastructure projects, let's just say they're a £100 million budget. £50 million of that was set aside for wages, right? Now, I want £400 a day, limited company. Yeah. To take that home inside IR35, I have to charge you £650. 700 a day. So now either the budget for that project has shot up by 25%. But if you can't afford it to go over, that means you can only afford to employ less people.
Yeah,
right?
And less quality people.
And less, or the same amount of people at less quality. So the government think they're having a result, but they're not. These project values are just swallowed up in this tax.
Yeah. And also it decentivises people to even do the work.
Of course it does.
They're not doing it.
Well, you look at it, my mate explained it to me. He was on this job, limited company, and he got told he had to go on IR35. So he said, It started on a Monday. So he's come in on a Monday. He sat at the same desk in the same office. He opened the same laptop, doing the same job, knowing he was going to take home 50% less. And he said he used to get on the train on a Monday morning and he'd think, it's not going to be till Wednesday at 1 o'clock that I actually start taking some of this money home. Right?
Wow.
Or that Friday's brain. So the week after he said, right, I'll do it on a daily basis. Right, so it's after 12:30 midday that this money starts becoming mine. And you know, when you're IR35, you have to go through these payment companies that you actually have to pay them for the privilege of having your money. £25 a week.
Yeah.
You're paying for your wages. What incentive is that to anyone? It's not.
They even start charging you employer national insurance as
That's
well.
right, yeah, because
So
you're a company, but you're an employee of the company as well.
So you're paying now is 15%. It was 13.8 before. So they're actually, you know, when he's saying 50%, he's adding the marginal of all the different stuff up that you're paying.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's not worth it. Getting on to future plans, because there's been an amazing podcast. People are going to get huge value. I think we talked about why you want to escape the current regime. You know, because it is going, and we've talked about the tax system, right? Because you're thinking about, you know, in the future you want to be in a different jurisdiction for a number of reasons you mentioned. You know, you were mentioning. Is it, you know, in your view, a lot of people with your experience, knowledge, thinking like this now, they're thinking UK is not the best place for the things we want to achieve at this stage of our life after we've worked all this hard work?
Definitely. Look, Zee, I've still got, although I've had the entrepreneur mindset shift, I've still got the working class mentality that when that alarm clock goes off, don't matter whether you're sick or injured or it's thundering down the road, you're up, you get out there and you bring home the money. And I've still got that. I'm still willing to work, I'm still willing to graft, but I ain't willing to pay 45% tax. I ain't willing to fund foreign wars and killing little children who've never done it. I ain't willing to fund MPs' second homes. I'm not, you know what I mean? I've never asked for anything off the state, ever, you know. Private healthcare, you know, everything that I need, I pay for. Like I've got 2 pensions. I don't want the state pension.
But if you don't mind jumping in, I actually think you should be expecting some of this, because you spent 4 decades. My head starts spinning because the people that have contributed this amount of money to our society, right? Our society should be, as people have done a whole lifetime worth of work, it should be trying to support and protect them, because they've already...
So it's pointless talking about what should. We know we are governed by a self-serving, mendacious, duplicitous predator class, right, who do not represent us. They represent their mates in the military-industrial complex and whoever else is greasing their palm. They don't care about you. I ain't hanging about going, what about me, what about my... But I'm white working class, mate. I'm the enemy to them. I'm the lowest of the low, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't care. I'm getting out. I'm taking my skills with me. Like my plan, this year I've spent quite a lot of time abroad, working from abroad, and it is a realistic business model, you know.
I think you were giving an example. Obviously, to the audience, Dave's very passionate about, you know, he's done a lot for the country. He's also been in the army and everything else. He's done a lot. So he's looking from an experience from very different perspective to many people. We didn't talk about that, but before that, you have been in the army and you've done so much. If you follow him, you'll realise. So he's actually one of the reasons why we got our country in the way, people like Dave and many others. So I think we have to always put that into context where he's coming from when he makes those statements. I think obviously the tax system, the current regime, weather, obviously, as you get older, you know what I mean? People love the weather. A lot of them been historically going to Spain, but people now looking at different parts. I think the bit that you were going to touch on was the business model. how you see it going forward. You know, how would you be working? Because you said you've seen some other entrepreneurs got a really good business model where they're still doing UK projects, but then here, for tax resident status and a number of other reasons, they're doing it from abroad.
Yeah.
So give an example that can inspire other people that how you can have a successful business model, but not having to be in the UK and be hit by all the fun of the tax system.
I've got a friend, he lives out in Tenerife. He's a mechanical and electrical designer.
Yeah.
And everything he does is off his laptop for projects all over the country. If he ever does need to come to the UK, if there's a problem that can't be resolved over the phone, or someone walking around with their video camera, and if he needs to come, then he charges accordingly. He charges a day rate and he charges his fares. Now, you know, he can plan that with getting the cheapest fares, like returns for 120 quid, whatever. So, but for the client, it works out much better because you're charging less because you're not there. You know, and you're charging less because the tax regime is less, and it's just better. And going back to, you know, what I may or may not have done for the country, you know, my nan and granddad, my granddad was in Desert Rats in the Second World War, and my nan lived through the Blitz. Now, both of them, they believed after the Second World War was the creation of the welfare state. They go to work, they pay their tax, they get a pension, they'd be looked after by the NHS. When the end came for both of them, that did not happen. It was not there, right? And they died in poverty. They paid their tax all their life, and they obeyed the law, and they trusted in the authorities above them. And I learnt from that at an early age. I thought, whatever happens in my life, that is not going to happen to me. I'm not going to be reliant on the state. When I need problems, I'm going to have assets or money in place so I can sort it out. And that's what I mean. I ain't hanging around. I don't care what I've paid in tax. Take it, you can have it, but you ain't having no more because I'm off.
And you know what? I feel there is a lot of this now, and I'm seeing it with a lot of entrepreneurs moving abroad. And I was saying to you, certain people have this view that they're not being patriotic by not supporting Britain and all the rest. They've already supported Britain. We're already supporting Britain. But there's a balance. There's got to be a fair distribution for people who are putting their effort, everything on the line to be successful. Everyone wants to pay the right amount of tax, the fair share, but it's got to be fair, because it's not fair. Because right now you've got, in my opinion, you've got the super wealthy who are in a different stratosphere. They pay very low marginal rates of tax because they get the best people. No disrespect, get good tax advice, right? Then you've got most of the people in the middle class who are getting hammered, which is quite a lot. And then you've got the people who are on the lower end, and they obviously, some of them, there's a reason they're on benefits, and some there isn't, right? And they're obviously getting the benefits. So the people who are actually working, making the effort, all these people in between, they're getting hammered. And that's dwindling because people are like, why should I?
Yeah.
And then what you said, and I think your parents, if they put, and I always think for the pensioners, my view, this is Zee's view, is if someone's at pension age, if we cannot respect them, we have to look at ourselves. When someone starts talking about the pension contribution, I'm like, they deserve it. But they've been at this age. Irrespective, we have to have a structure to support them. But right now, the structure does not support them. On average, I see a lot of people, it's supporting people probably that shouldn't have what they get, and then it's decentivizing the people that are trying to create something off themselves.
Mate, we got, you know, cutting the pensions went to fuel allowance. We've got unlimited billions for foreign wars, and we can't give our elderly the dignity of having a bit of warmth. It's sickening. You go back to the 60s or 70s, don't matter whether you're Labour or Conservative, you'll see like real politicians, great statesmen and women who will stand up and speak their mind and speak their truth and speak for their constituents. And you look at who we got now. Can you tell, if you went to the House of Commons today and they all swap seats, would you be able to tell any difference? They're the mono party. They're the self-serving party, with a few notable exceptions. But I had this. I put a post on LinkedIn about, leaving the country, and someone I know well replied. He said, I'm sick of it. All these people who say they're going to Dubai, go. We'll be better off without you. Why aren't you patriotic? So next time I see him, and I said, look, got nothing to do with not being patriotic, but the truth is, we have been betrayed by the people in power. No doubt about it. Don't matter where you come from, what race, what sex, what age. But talk about my grandparents, Second World War generation, completely and utterly betrayed, right? And you look now, you can be put in prison for a social media tweet. You look at the frightening levels of state oppression and all that. This ain't what we wanted. None of us voted for it. All your foreign wars. This is just you trying to pursue your geopolitical ambitions to the financial benefit of you and your rich mates. Keep us out of it, right? I don't want to go. I don't want my sons or my grandsons to go to the other side of the world to kill some other working class person they've never met just to make you richer. But me, I've woken up to what's going on here. I ain't going to change it. One man ain't going to change it. 1,000 million ain't going to change it, because you've got the full apparatus of the state against you. And it's not just in Britain, it's the whole of the West, you know. So I'm up in and I'm leaving, right? Yeah. And the tax that I was paying ain't going to be paid because I'm not going to be here. Yeah. And I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labour in the sun.
Dave, it's been a privilege, honour having you off this. I hope that on the podcast you've given so much insight and you told the straight talking. I told you, real deal, straight talking from Dave. Huge value, fantastic individual, actually has unbelievable insight on how to help property developers through construction. This is the Next Level Finance podcast, Series 2, Episode 8. Dave, thank you so much.
Thanks, Zee. Perfect. Been a pleasure. Been great.